In the adrenaline-pumped world of extreme sports, Caleb Moore pushed the limits of what was possible on a snowmobile. But in the blink of an eye, the thrill turned to tragedy, and the snowy terrain that once embraced his daring stunts would become the scene of a heart-stopping event. Join us as we unravel the tragic story of Caleb Moore, a tale of speed, risk, and the haunting realization that sometimes the pursuit of greatness comes at a devastating cost. Caleb Moore was born on August 28, 1987 in Fort Worth, Texas. From an early age, it was evident that he possessed a fearless spirit, thriving on taking bold risks. This trait became unmistakably clear when, at just 4 years old, Caleb astonishingly climbed a 10-foot television antenna on the side of their house. His mother, in a mix of panic and awe, with no one else around to assist, anxiously asked if he could make his way back down. Caleb simply nodded calmly and descended with a big smile, cheerful, proclaiming to his mother, "Look at what I did." A few years later, imagining serene weekends riding through the wooded trails near Crum, Caleb's father purchased 3 ATVs, also known as quads, envisioning them as a means to strengthen the family bond. Initially, the Moore family did enjoy the quads for their intended purpose, embarking on leisurely rides across local ranches and trails. However, the leisurely pace wasn't quite to Caleb's or his brother's liking, and it wasn't long before they started exploring the full potential of these four-wheelers, pushing them to their limits and developing a passion for racing. And Caleb's grasp on the sport of quad racing was evident early on. In just a few years, he'd collected pretty much every trophy he could win in the Texas Quad Racing Association. His prizes included first place in Mosier Valley in 2001 and 2003, and second place at the Texas Motor Speedway. He was victorious in every season, across all tracks, and with a clear vision for his future, Caleb declared, "I have to go to the Nationals." He completed high school early so he could prioritize ATV racing, and during a family discussion around the kitchen table, they decided to invest his college funds into his racing dream, purchasing a semi-truck cab for $8,000 and an enclosed trailer for $20,000, gearing up for his first national competition. Caleb's initial forays into the national events saw him securing positions like 7th, 9th, and 11th. The problem, however, wasn't ability, it was equipment. Many kids on the circuit already had sponsors, companies that provided them with top-tier gear. Luckily, it didn't take long before BC Vaught, a keen observer of talent, noticed him at an event in Minnesota. Vaught was quick to recognize Caleb's potential, signing him up for roles in action sports movies, with Vaught eventually becoming Caleb's agent. Shortly thereafter, Caleb's career took a dynamic turn as he featured in several Huevos freestyle movies produced by H-Bomb Films and toured with the Crusty Demons of the Dirt Tour, as well as performed in X-Night's FMX shows. Caleb traveled around the world, dazzling audiences with his freestyle motocross tricks on his quad, and became known as one of the select few who could consistently execute a backflip on a quad. But one afternoon in 2009, while Caleb and Colton lounged in their parents' living room watching the Winter XGames on TV, an idea sparked in Caleb's mind. One of their quad sponsors, Polaris, also manufactured snowmobiles. And since it was clear that ESPN wasn't going to create a competition for freestyle ATV riders in the Summer X Games, they needed a new direction. The plan was simple: contact Polaris, secure 2 snowmobiles, and aim for the Winter X Games. "You guys can do this," encouraged their father. Caleb, filled with determination, agreed, "We can totally do this." But Crum, Texas was a location known for its lack of snow, posing a unique challenge for snowmobile training. To overcome this, his father ingeniously built a foam pit, allowing Caleb to safely practice his stunts. Remarkably, he mastered the complex backflip on a snowmobile in just 2 weeks. This rapid skill acquisition was astounding, especially considering he had only about a month to train before his first Winter X Games in 2010. There, his efforts were rewarded with a bronze medal in freestyle. And Caleb's quick adaptation and success in competitive snowmobiling showcased his extraordinary talent and dedication. Over the next few years, the Moore brothers' feats, notably their synchronized backflip in 2011, captured widespread attention from fans, event organizers, and sponsors. Caleb secured bronze in freestyle in 2011 and 2012, and ESPN highlighted his evolution in the sport, noting on his profile that he had gone from beginner's luck to serious threat. A week before the 2013 X Games, Caleb was brimming with plans. "On Tuesday I fly home, and on Wednesday I fly to France for a show on a quad," he said. "Then, the next weekend, I have a show in Michigan on a sled, followed by a week off, and then a month traveling to Argentina, France, Russia, and back before returning to the States." However, fate had a different plan. From January 24th to 27, 2013, Aspen, Colorado hosted the 17th Winter X Games, an exhilarating annual sports event that brings together the world's top athletes in extreme winter sports. The event features a diverse range of competitions in skiing, snowboarding, and snowmobiling, and athletes from across the globe gathered to showcase their skills and push the boundaries of what's possible in extreme winter sports. The event's schedule includes both day and night competitions, adding a unique element of excitement. Spectators can witness athletes flying through the air, spinning, flipping, and defying gravity, all against the breathtaking backdrop of the Colorado Rockies. Hours before the Snowmobile Freestyle event on January 24th, Caleb fondly recalled his first backflip on an ATV at the age of 19 in Crum, Texas. "It was the most exciting moment of my life," Caleb said, "and the most stressful, heart-pounding moment of my life, too." But this had been nothing compared to what awaited him. The upcoming event included massive ramps launching snowmobilers over 100 feet in the air. Contestants had 75 seconds to perform gravity-defying tricks on a variety of jumps, with backflips being a crowd favorite, often featuring daring variations like releasing the handlebars or momentarily freezing mid-air with the snowmobile overhead. However, it soon became evident that the snowmobiling events that weekend carried increased risk. The competition, which began with 8 participants, concluded with just 4 remaining. Inexperienced Australian rider Jackson Strong, who had only spent 4 hours on a snowmobile, experienced a crash due to a stuck throttle, propelling the machine towards spectators. Fortunately, a fabric fence intervened, preventing a more severe incident. A teenage spectator was injured, but luckily was released after treatment. However, the evening wasn't over yet, and Caleb eagerly counted down the hours to his moment in the spotlight. His practice runs in the weeks before had been shaky at times, and he had crashed multiple times as he refined his tricks for the competition. These uncharacteristic tumbles left his body bruised and his back aching. However, Caleb never seemed to dwell on his mistakes. He was determined to push his limits and secure his first gold medal at the X Games, the most significant event of his year. His final practice runs in Aspen on that perfect afternoon solidified his confidence. With his 75-second routine of flips and jumps dialed in, he flashed his country boy smile to the cameras and boldly predicted, "It's going to happen. I'm going to win." On that day at the X Games, 15,000 spectators gathered on the mountain to witness the action, and Caleb confidently sat on his black and red 2-cylinder snowmobile, adorned with his cherished number 31 and a gold star. He straddled his sled and revved his engine, pulling on the throttle. He looked ready as ever. He looked into the camera while he pulled away, stood up on his sled, popped a wheelie in the snow, and acknowledged the crowd with a raised fist. This was Caleb, always the showman. Then he turned, hit the throttle, kicked up a cloud of snow, and approached the first ramp with a burst of speed. The following stunts were nothing short of spectacular, captivating the crowd, announcers, and watching sponsors. Caleb expertly executed not just 1 but 2 backflips, along with a body varial that left him daringly dangling off the edge of his sled in midair, high above the unforgiving frozen ground. With only 30 seconds remaining, he sped off to tackle the final ramp of the course. His grand finale was a breathtaking tsunami Indy flip. For this stunt, Caleb would approach the ramp and immediately initiate the flip. As the sled flipped upside down, he would find himself hanging beneath it, dangling off the handlebars. At that critical moment, he planned to extend his legs out to the side, masterfully rotating the snowmobile back into position. This maneuver is considered one of the most challenging in freestyle due to the significant distance between the rider's body and the sled, leaving little room for error. In the language of the sport, this move is known as a KOD flip, a kiss of death. It was a bold, show-stopping finale from Caleb, a trick guaranteed to impress the judges. And having successfully performed these flips countless times before, Caleb was confident. To him, it was just another day at the office. But as soon as he went airborne and pulled for the flip, maneuvering his 450-pound snowmobile in the sky, it became clear that something had gone wrong. Caleb, now hanging beneath his sled, kicked his legs and pulled on the throttle, striving to complete the rotation. Despite his efforts, the sled failed to make the full turn. The front ski tips of the machine flipped end over end, and the nose of the machine struck Caleb directly in the chest. The attempted tsunami flip had gone horribly wrong. His body then bounced and tumbled down the slope, flipping and rolling several feet before coming to a stop. He lay there, face up, his arms and legs splayed out like a snow angel on a mountain surface. The medical team quickly attended to him as he lay motionless in the snow. Caleb was knocked unconscious in the crash, but luckily regained consciousness about 30 seconds later, finding himself surrounded by his father and brother, the latter of whom had been preparing for his own turn. The medical staff immediately began assessing his condition with questions. Do you know your name? Do you know where you are? Do you understand what just happened? Caleb responded to each question, fully aware of the situation. He knew exactly what happened, and in his mind, he had just missed another golden opportunity for a medal. Lying in the snow, he expressed his frustration to his father. I had a perfect run going, and then I had to go and ruin it on that one last jump. After some time, Caleb gradually regained his strength. He first sat up, then stood and began walking away from the hill, heading towards the medical tent for a more detailed evaluation. Despite his shaky condition and needing the support of his father's arm, he reassured everyone that he was fine and insisted he felt no pain. However, his brother Colton sensed that something was wrong. Yet with the event continuing, he had to focus on preparing for his own run. But as Colton readied himself, a concerning development occurred. Caleb collapsed inside the medical tent. The medical team quickly placed him on a stretcher and rushed him into an ambulance, diagnosing him with a concussion, a condition not unfamiliar to Caleb. In a pre-race interview with the New York Times, he had estimated experiencing around 10 concussions in the past. Not overly concerned at the time, he was taken to Aspen Valley Hospital for treatment. 30 minutes later, a twist of fate saw Colton Moore's first run end disastrously on the same landing ramp. He over-rotated a backflip, causing his snowmobile to land heavily on its back edge. The impact flung Colton off the back. He too was secured onto a gurney and transported in an ambulance, joining his brother at Aspen Valley Hospital. This is not new to us, their father Wade Moore remarked after both his sons were rushed to the hospital in separate ambulances. You know it can happen at any time. We just hope it doesn't happen here, on this night. Before his accident, Caleb Moore had recounted the injuries he had sustained during his career in ATV and snowmobile sports. A broken ankle, pelvis, back, tailbone, collarbone, wrist, and no less than 10 concussions. Colton's injury history was strikingly similar. As Colton rode in the ambulance, he thought up a humorous remark to lighten the mood for his older brother. He later shared, I was going to roll up next to him and be like, hey man, I couldn't leave you hanging. And then we'd joke around, Colton said. But when I did see him, they had him sedated so I couldn't talk to him, he recounted. I just had a real bad feeling like, why isn't he awake? Especially after I'd seen him walk off and thought he was fine. At the hospital, Colton was diagnosed with a separated pelvis and was discharged the following day. Caleb's situation, however, was more severe. While hospitalized, his blood pressure began to show alarming fluctuations. The doctors discovered internal bleeding around his heart, a result of the snowmobile's impact. His heart rate escalated dangerously to 155, 162, then 177 beats per minute. Due to the severity of his condition, Caleb was airlifted to St. Mary's Hospital in Grand Junction, Colorado for emergency heart surgery. Unfortunately, adverse weather conditions delayed his transfer by nearly 6 hours. Shortly after his arrival, Caleb experienced respiratory arrest, which lasted for 20 minutes, leading to irreversible brain damage. He never regained consciousness and showed no signs of improvement in the following days. 1 week after the tragic accident, at 9:30 a.m. on January 31st, symbolically matching his racing number, Caleb was declared brain dead, and his family made the heartbreaking decision to remove life support. Caleb passed away at the age of 25. Caleb's tragic passing was a somber milestone, being the first fatality in the 17-year history of the Winter XGames. The autopsy report revealed the extent of his injuries. Caleb had suffered cardiac contusion, multiple rib fractures, a contusion on the anterior chest wall, and anoxic encephalopathy, which is brain damage resulting from the lack of oxygen. The report noted the time interval from injury to arrival at St. Mary's Hospital was approximately 6 hours. The decedent remained unconscious, and an MRI of the brain revealed anoxic injury. Colton's farewell to his brother was filled with resolve. "I'm going to keep writing for you. I'm going to carry on your name." And he kept that promise. A year after his brother's passing, Colton returned to the Winter X Games and triumphantly won the gold medal in snowmobile freestyle. That victory, he said, was as much his brother's as his own. In a heartfelt tribute, Colton raised 3 fingers on one hand and one on the other, symbolizing Caleb's racing number 31. "There's no way I could stop riding," Colton said. "If I even thought about quitting, Caleb would be like, 'What are you thinking? That's what we love to do.'" In the aftermath of this tragedy, the Pitkin County Coroner's Office announced that Caleb had donated his organs. His funeral service was held on February 7th. In a heartfelt gesture, ESPN awarded Caleb's family an X Games gold medal during the funeral, a symbol of recognition to accompany the medals that he had previously won. From his early days as an ATV racer to his meteoric rise in the world of snowmobile racing, Caleb's relentless pursuit of greatness was evident. His swift adaptation to snowmobiles and rapid ascension to the top, earning multiple medals at the Winter X Games, showcased not just his talent, but a fearless dedication to his craft.
Everyday life, everything's competitive, everything's a race, everything's a competition, so it's never ending with us.